We have complied with the law. We have reviewed.
There are 3 million more documents, and you know what you said to me? They're all duplicative, and they include another guy named Epstein.
No, I didn't
Nobody's
say that.
buying. That's
I did
what you
not
said.
say that.
That's what you said.
So, look.
My God, don't you not find there's any conflict of interest in what you are doing here as the acting Attorney General of the United States?
I didn't. What are you saying is a conflict? Is a basis for me to appoint a special
Let me
prosecutor?
reclaim my time. The Constitution gives him absolute power to pardon. It does not give power to pardon in exchange for payments.
Not enough people are talking about the other piece of news that Todd Blanche dropped yesterday. Not about the slush fund, but the fact that a president that accepts a bribe should be impeached. His AG said that. Did you miss it? All right, I didn't. Let's get into it. So yesterday, the Republicans spent most of the time glazing Todd Blanche, just throwing him softballs and giving him an opportunity to just present stats. Boring. The Democrats, as they should, held his feet to the fire, and they were able to get him to make a couple of concessions and confirmations on the record. Now, before I get into this, you should know, because a lot of people say, what is all this for? It's just theater. It is not just theater, because it's on the record with under penalty of perjury. They're able to use the statements that they make in these hearings on the record. Infamously, you should know that one of the reasons why people consider the settlement a scam is because no attorney from the Department of Justice entered an appearance on behalf of the United States in the case against Donald Trump. No attorney. So it was not a case. It never was. No one entered opinion. So it does. The reason why is because no one wants their name on this. It's the same reason why they avoid putting their names on declarations. They don't want to go on the oath. They don't want to swear in the penalty of perjury because you can go to jail. That's the other thing. Maybe not this term, maybe not right now, maybe not next year, but they can go to jail. So we got some concessions. Now we're going to start with the co-chair of the committee, Representative Grace Meng, New York 6. From New York 6, did an excellent summation of encapsulating every single thing that's wrong with the DOJ, wrong with Todd Blanche, with him even representing as an acting AG, given the fact that he was the president's personal attorney. It was 10 out of 10, no notes. Look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome Acting Attorney General Blanche, and thank you everyone for your patience as we finished up the prior hearing with Secretary Rubio. Tens of thousands of public servants at the Department of Justice work very hard to protect public safety and try their best to uphold the rule of law. However, the leadership of the department has greatly damaged it over the past 16 months. Hardworking Americans continue to struggle with higher and higher costs of gas, groceries, and other necessities. Yet the Trump administration is doing nothing to help them. President Trump himself has said that he doesn't, quote, think about Americans' personal financial situation. At the same time, a growing number of Trump administration officials and their family members are enriching themselves in the millions of dollars by making personal business deals directly connected to their official government decisions. Working and middle-class Americans are paying their taxes, but the acting attorney general signed an order 2 weeks ago directing the IRS to permanently avoid auditing past tax returns of the Trump family. Members of the Trump family are now off the hook for at least $100 million in taxes. On top of that, the Trump administration and the Justice Department are actively working to hand $1.8 billion in taxpayer dollars over to insurrectionists and other violent felons, hundreds of whom assaulted police officers here in the Capitol. One of the insurrectionists, Jared Wise, openly encouraged fellow rioters to attack and to kill police officers. He was hired last year by the Trump administration as a senior advisor and counselor at the Justice Department. There have been many other outrages over the past 16 months. Under this department's leadership and following an interview by then Deputy Attorney General Blanche, Jeffrey Epstein's closest associate, the convicted child sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, was moved to a cushy minimum security prison and was given special treatment and unique privileges. Hundreds of experienced career agents, investigators, and prosecutors have been fired or forced out of DOJ as part of a campaign of political retribution by the Trump administration. Just days before the launch of U.S. military strikes in Iran this year, at least 10 FBI counterintelligence agents and support staff, including those specializing in the Middle East and Iran, were fired in retaliation for work they had been ordered to do several years ago in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. As the New York Times reported in March, after a year of continuous firings, resignations, and other disruptions to work, elite counterterrorism and counterintelligence units at the Justice Department have been stretched thin and left short-staffed. But the threats to our country are growing. As part of their retribution campaign, the Trump administration and DOJ have also deliberately targeted and investigated numerous current and former public officials for criminal prosecution on extremely flimsy grounds, if any. DOJ has also trampled on the First Amendment by targeting journalists engaged in investigative reporting, including an FBI criminal probe of a reporter from The Atlantic magazine after its recent reporting about the FBI director's dereliction of his duties. Multiple news outlets have also reported on the administration's corrupt practice of receiving pay for pardons or clemency for millionaire and billionaire criminals. For example, we know that the founder of Binance was pardoned last October after the company took actions that enriched the Trump family by hundreds of millions of dollars. In December, President Trump pardoned the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who had been sentenced to 45 years in prison for allowing drug traffickers to export more than 400 tons of cocaine into the U.S. Not only was he pardoned, but the Bureau of Prisons helped relocate him from a federal prison in West Virginia to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City after his release. All of this has happened in full public view, and the Trump administration has simultaneously gutted the DOJ's public integrity section and shut down the public corruption squad of the FBI Washington field office. There's more. Over the past 16 months, the DOJ's highly respected Civil Rights Division has been gutted. The FBI has stopped using a national database that tracks hate crime cases, and DOJ is proposing to eliminate the 3 grant programs aimed at fighting and preventing hate crimes, while hate crimes are at a record high. The administration also wants to eliminate the Community Relations Service, which was created by the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to prevent and resolve conflicts in American communities. At the same time, DOJ is seizing state voting records and has sued more than 30 states to access their voter information. Nearly all of the roughly 30 career lawyers in the voting section of the Civil Rights Division are gone. Last month, Acting Attorney General Blanche stated that he sees no problem with deploying ICE officers to polling places, even though 18 U.S. Code Section 592 prohibits sending armed personnel to polling places. And equally as egregious, the Justice Department has taken steps to allow criminals to own guns and continues to illegally restore the gun possession rights of convicted felons and domestic abusers. These actions and much more prove that since the start of this Trump administration, the Justice Department has failed the American people. I look forward to the discussions of these critically important issues today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Precisely. Now, Connecticut 3 Representative Rosa DeLauro had a fit. She was just aghast at the gaslighting and the denial and the just gumption of Todd Blanche to just deny what we see on our face. And so watch their exchange and let's talk on the other side.
General Blanche, welcome. There's much I would like to cover today. The president's budget proposes steep cuts to important programs that combat hate crimes, protect civil rights, prevent gun violence, along with other changes that I believe will weaken efforts to keep our community safe. In an ordinary time, during an ordinary administration, these are topics that I would focus on. But these are not ordinary times. And this is not an ordinary administration. No, this administration has engaged in what are perhaps the most brazen acts of flagrant corruption I've ever seen. And you are at the center of many of them, Mr. Blanche. I know you do not like it when people bring up the fact that before you joined the Justice Department, you were President Trump's personal attorney. But when you are issuing memos granting the president, his children, and their companies immunity from audits or prosecution for tax offenses, your previous role becomes relevant information. When you preside over a deal to take $1.8 billion of taxpayer money to create a slush fund to pay out violent criminals who pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers, you cannot be surprised when people question your impartiality. Federal courts have blocked the fund from paying out any claims for the time being. But I am not at all convinced that this administration has given up. You left yourself a lot of room with your carefully worded statement, Mr. Blanche. There is effectively no oversight to this slush fund. You appoint every member of the commission, and the president can fire any of them at any time for any reason. There is no definite standard for who is and is not eligible to receive a payout. Quote, weaponization and lawfare are not legally defined terms. Who does and does not qualify appears to be entirely at the discretion of the people that you appoint. There is no transparency built into the fund. There is no congressional oversight. The public has no way of knowing who has filed a claim, of how much, or on what grounds. Conversely, we do not know who has been denied a claim or why it was denied. We do not even know the process by which claims will be filed or payments dispersed. All we know for certain is that President Trump's personal lawyer turned acting attorney general set up a $1.8 billion fund with taxpayer money that can be used to pay off just about anyone for just about anything. It can be used to pay out violent criminals who assaulted police officers and ransacked the Capitol on January 6th. I was evacuated from the Capitol on January 6th. These are the people who were arrested, they were tried, convicted, and then pardoned by the administration. And now he wants to raid the Treasury to pay them. It is unconscionable. This sort of a scandal, that it would ruin any other administration and any other time. But because President Trump has rendered House Republican leadership so completely impotent, there will be likely no accountability until the next Congress. In addition to the slush fund, you issued a memo stating that the United States is, quote, hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, end quote, against the president, his family, or their businesses related to ongoing tax investigations. Retroactive immunity would be a curious benefit to bestow on someone who has done nothing wrong. If the president, his associates, and family members were innocent of whatever they were being investigated for, the investigation would surely bear that out. But now we will never know. Congress and the American people are left to speculate what could have possibly prompted this unprecedented settlement that exempts the president from any accountability for his actions. This is staggering. I had not planned on using my time during this hearing to raise these issues, but I would be deficient in my duty as a member of the Congress were I to ignore this extraordinary display of self-dealing, self-service, self-enrichment by this administration, beginning with the president on down. All year on this committee, we have seen dramatic cuts to programs that help American families who are struggling with the cost of living. We do not have money for food or for housing, to bring down the cost for utilities or gasoline or health care. The president said there will be no money for daycare, for Medicaid, for Medicare. But by God, we do have $1.8 billion for a corrupt payout scheme for the president and his political allies. It is shameful. I look forward to hearing your answers to our questions today, Mr. I have here, this is the order on the settlement, the $1.8 billion. And then this is the addendum to the order, which is about tax immunity. And this is a copy of the settlement agreement, and the Associate Attorney General signed this. These two documents were signed by yourself. Now, this is all in writing. This is all. Can you tell us here today that you are going to disavow this, that you're going to rescind what you said to Ms. Meng in writing with these efforts? These three documents are in writing. Is that a yes or a no?
So I can't answer that yes or no. Do you want an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so not yes or no. You gave me three documents. The only document I said we're not moving forward on today is the first document identified, which is the anti-weaponization fund. There's still a settlement agreement, and there's still the second document I signed is not an addendum; it's a separate Attorney General order.
Okay. Okay. So, but you're not going to rescind the addendum, the second order?
No,
the only thing you're talking about here, so the blanket immunity is not something that you're going to move back on?
It's not blanket immunity. That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
Read it. Okay. United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of actions, appeals, requests for any reliefs. I mean, this is an order from you, but you're not prepared. You are prepared to say that the president and his family will be barred, are immune from. That's a yes.
No, it was not a yes. I had not answered the question. I can't answer if you want me to.
What are you doing with this?
Okay, so there was a settlement, which is one of the documents you showed. Okay.
Right.
Part of the settlement included the second order that you just held up.
Right.
And that is still, nothing has changed with that. What I said today, what I've said a couple times today, as what we talked about yesterday, is we're not moving forward with the anti-weaponization fund.
Okay, but you are moving forward with this second order.
It's not moving forward. There's a settlement. There's a settlement that the IRS entered into with President Trump and others, his family and his companies. As part of that settlement, as is customary in IRS settlements, there's a separate AG order.
Friends, listen to what is being said here today here. This is really pretty extraordinary, that we are going to forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting the president, his sons, and the Trump organization's current tax filings. Simply put, you just gave the president and his family a tax immunity to the tune of about $100 million.
Not true.
Well, yes, you have, my friend.
No, it's not true.
You know, look, and I just want to say this. The Save America paid you nearly $10 million between March of 2024 and December of 2024 to serve as the President Trump's personal defense attorney. My God, don't you not find there's any conflict of interest in what you are doing here as the acting Attorney General of the United States?
What are you saying is a conflict? I don't understand what you're saying.
Listen.
The fact that I used to have a job and I have a current job?
You know, I've got less time left, but I am going to reclaim my time because I think you have clearly answered where you're going on what you're doing on this, is that you've taken one piece and you said, okay, we have had a ton of backlash on this on this $1.8 billion slush fund. However, so we'll not move on that, but as part of the settlement, which you've said, which is this immunity for the president and his family and his business, etc., that stands. Thank you for
It's not immunity, ma'am. It's
thank you.
It's a promise.
Thank you. It's immunity.
It's not immunity. It's not immunity. Okay, so it's not immunity. What it says is like any time the IRS settles with an individual taxpayer or another company as part of the settlement, it's standard. It's typical to get rid of past ongoing audits. It's not a forward-looking document. It's nothing that gives any sort of immunity in the future to the president or his family or his organizations. And so by you saying that, it's not true.
By you saying what you've said, it is not true. So thank you, and I yield back.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
Blanche, thank you, and I yield back.
Frustrating for him he's playing with words. It's like the Bill Clinton, it depends on what a definition of is, and he played dumb so much. Like, what are you talking about? I don't know. They're constantly like, I've never seen it, because it's hard to defend the indefensible. Their actions are indefensible. Now let's turn to my representative of the 4th District of Maryland, Glenn Ivey. Glenn Ivey, who's a former prosecutor himself, took Todd Blanche to task to Donald Trump's pardons. Particularly, he focused on one pardon that is the most explicit, apparent, like blatant glare. He walked them through it and say, is this not a crime? Watch.
Meng's questions about Binance, which frankly looks to me like a blatant pay-for-pardon scheme. So let me walk through some of the facts that lead me to that conclusion. In late 2023, Binance and CEO Zhao agreed to pay a penalty of $4.36 billion. A U.S. judge approved the guilty plea for multiple federal crimes and a civil settlement for anti-money laundering and sanctions, and that was in 2023. Donald Trump is elected president in November 2024. December 2024, Mr. Zhao and Mr. Witkoff meet in Abu Dhabi at a Bitcoin conference. In March of 2025, a couple months later, you're confirmed as Deputy Attorney General. March 25th, 2025, World Liberty Financial announced that it would launch a stablecoin called USD1. World Liberty Financial is a family-owned business by the Trump family. 2 of his sons are in it, and Mr. Witkoff's got interest in it as well. 1 month later, in April 2025, Binance's founder, Mr. Zhao, was sentenced to federal prison for money laundering and other federal crimes that included funding to terrorist groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. On May 1, World Liberty Financial announces that an Emirati company called MGX, that also has ties to Mr. Witkoff, would use $2 billion on the stablecoin I just mentioned, USD1, to invest in Binance. This gave President Trump and his family a revenue stream that could be worth tens of millions of dollars. According to the Wall Street Journal, Binance took steps that catapulted the Trump's family's ventures into stablecoin product, enhancing its credibility and pushing its market capitalization up from $127 million to over $2.1 billion. Now, on May 5th, Mr. Zhao publicly stated that he had applied for a presidential pardon for the crimes that he'd previously pled guilty to and had been sentenced to jail for, and the restitution amount of $4.3 billion plus was put in place. A few months later, on October 21, 2025, President Trump grants him a full pardon with no explanation, by the way, in the document, at least that I saw. So this looks like a pay-to-play kind of scenario. You've got the meeting that takes place. You've got the money that's transferred to an entity that's owned by the Trump family. I don't think the president has actually divested his interest there necessarily, but I could stand corrected on that. But certainly his family still has interest in it, as does Mr. Witkoff. And then a few months after that, he issues a pardon. So why haven't you appointed a special prosecutor to take a look at this? This looks, on its face, it just looks like a quid pro quo scenario that should be investigated. Why haven't you taken that step?
Well, look, the power to pardon in our Constitution is given to the President of the United States. The Constitution does not require him to provide any explanation for who he chooses to pardon or not pardon, or commute or not commute. And so I very much reject the idea that the premise that this looks like something is a basis for me to appoint a special
Let me
prosecutor.
reclaim my time. The Constitution gives him absolute power to pardon. It does not give power to pardon in exchange for payments, clearly. And a $2.1 billion payment to his family. And we'll set aside the fact that he should have divested from all of those interests anyway, but the fact that he gave that he gets the $2 billion piece, and then a few months later pardons the guy who was guilty of money laundering and providing money to, or helping to finance the money laundering operation for ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the guys we're fighting in Iran right now, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. That's not a problem?
Who he chooses to pardon is not a problem, period. And you're saying all these things that are just not true.
What's the legal basis for that statement?
The Constitution of our United States.
The Constitution does not give him the authority to pardon in exchange for payments. It does not permit bribery.
For payments, you told me nothing about exchange for payments. You said there's.
Well, I just told you.
Put a bunch of facts together.
Well, that's why you need a special prosecutor. Shouldn't somebody clearly you're not going to do it. Shouldn't somebody be appointed, a truly experienced prosecutor, to take a look at this and conduct the investigation? And then if he reaches the conclusion that you're right, that's fine. But if he finds that there's a problem with what the president did or his family, then he should move forward with prosecuting that case.
Has expired.
I very much disagree.
So you see at the end of that, Glenn Ivey too was like, whoa, wow, this guy is like, yeah, I don't know. But fortunately, the next representative who had the bench, the next Democratic one, Joseph Morrell from New York, 25th District, hammered him down. He got him to admit, and you're going to hear it, that a president that accepts a bribe should be impeached. Good job, Joseph. Well done.
And thank you for convening this. Thank you to Ranking Member Meng and Ranking Member DeLauro as well. And thank you to the Attorney General for appearing. I want to associate myself with the remarks by the chairman, just to say I'm deeply frustrated that the department is appearing and the Attorney General is appearing here nearly 3 weeks after the subcommittee and full committee have marked up Commerce, Justice, and Science Appropriations Bill. It's deeply troubling. This is not how the appropriations process is expected to work. And we would love to hear from you in the future. And I think we ought to, your budget priorities, question your leadership, what the leadership believes about these. So I just deeply frustrated. I hope it doesn't, I hope next year we don't repeat this. So I just wanted to associate myself with that. I was just curious, just as a follow-up to Mr. Ivey's line of question, is it your testimony that if someone paid the President of the United States $1 million for a pardon, that would not violate federal law?
No, that is not my testimony.
What is your testimony about?
My testimony is that the power to pardon in our Constitution is not limited. So what I mean by that is the president doesn't have to say why he's pardoning.
No, I didn't say that. I'm asking you, though. So if someone wrote in the memo of a check for $1 million to the President of the United States, any president, said for issuance of a pardon, would that be a violation of federal law?
Yes. Potentially.
It
would. I would.
Under what section
of facts? I think there would be a
you just said
violation of the bribery law. Yes.
Bribery law, even though the Constitution gives you unlimited power as president.
The person that paid the bribe would be,
okay.
For the president himself who accepted the money, I think you would need to impeach him in that case.
Gotcha.
Hello. Thank you very much for saying that. We got that on the record. Representative Maladin Dean was on there for behalf of the Epstein victims because there are 3 million files that have not been released. So there's a law that was passed last December that says the Department of Justice must release the Epstein files, all 6 million. They only released 3 million. And so she was asking Todd, when was he released the next? And then she also had some things to say about something that she found in the file that she wanted to read. But you're going to see what happened and what the chair did to stymie her. So Republicans are really... Look at this.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers. Thank you to our ranking members. Welcome, Acting Attorney General. I want to speak about justice for the Epstein victims and survivors. And I'm going to begin with the closing words of Virginia Roberts Giuffre in her book. It's literally the last paragraph. She writes, "I hope for a world in which predators are punished, not protected. Victims are treated with compassion, not shamed, and powerful people face the same consequences as anyone else. I yearn, too, for a world in which the perpetrators face more shame than their victims do, and where anyone who's been trafficked can confront their abusers when they are ready, no matter how much time has passed. We don't live in this world yet. I mean, seriously, where are those videotapes the FBI confiscated from Epstein's houses? And why haven't they led to prosecution of any more abusers?" That's from Virginia. It was printed, as you know, posthumously after her death. Mr. Blanche, you and I had a chance a couple of weeks ago at the Department of Justice to speak about these cases. We discussed three things in connection with this monstrous, decades-long crime spree. Number one, your failure to fully redact survivor information. Number two, your failure to follow the law and release the remaining files. And number three, your refusal to prosecute anybody else. Mr. Blanche, let's continue that inane conversation, but this time it's public. This time, and more importantly, it's under oath. You're speaking to Congress. So let's get into it. When will you comply with the law and release all of the files?
As I said to you when we spoke before, we have complied with the law. We have reviewed.
There are 3 million more documents, and you know what you said to me? They're all duplicative, and they include another guy named Epstein.
No, I didn't
Nobody's
say that.
buying. That's
I did
what you
not
said.
say that.
That's what you said.
So look,
Reclaiming my time.
Can I answer? Can I
No,
answer the question?
You may not. I
Okay.
just gave you the answer you gave me.
Telling.
No, actually, it's my time, Mr. Chairman. I think those are the rules of this committee. I told him the answer he gave me, and now in public he's trying to say something else. Please stop the clock. Can I get that time back? May I have 20 seconds back, Mr. Chairman? Thank you. I very much appreciate that. Mr. Blanche.
You don't want me to answer the question.
Mr. Blanche, as you know, I visited DOJ 3 times for as much as 10 hours, and I'll be going back. Does the Epstein File Transparency Act say that the file should be available to members of Congress with a minder at DOJ, where you're in a secure room, you can't write on any of the binders, you can take your own notes? Is that what the Transparency Act says?
It doesn't require we allow you to come to DOJ at all. We did that on our own.
What does it say in terms of
We do that.
transparency? It says that they should be made publicly available.
And they
Am
were.
Am I correct?
And they
Publicly
were.
available.
And they were.
Oh, well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon.
2 minutes and 10 seconds.
And I'd actually like to get 20 seconds back. How do I get cut off 2 minutes into this?
2 minutes and 10 seconds left.
Time of the gentlelady has expired.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Chairman.
No, that's not right.
What rules are we operating under?
That's not right.
Because he's under a little bit of heat for not prosecuting anyone in these monstrous crimes? I've been in the room. I have been there. This is what I had to do, to transcribe, to show what is true. What is true is that the president has lied about being on Epstein's plane, and the unredacted files prove that. There's a lot in here. I am shocked at this. There's also this set of files in the file. This is investigation into the potential co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. I almost used up all the blank ink in the hallway because it's all covered up. It's all covered up. The American people are not stupid. They know that when members of Congress have to go in and actually unredact to try to find the truth for these victims, something is corrupt. Something is corrosive. You were paid $10 million to represent the president. You hang a 30-foot banner of the president's menacing face over the entrance to the Department of Justice. You said that if you were terminated or not moved forward as Attorney General, you would say to the president, "I love you, sir." So I have one question for you. Is your obligation to the victims and survivors of Epstein's heinous crimes and all his perpetrators, or is your first obligation to the President of the United States?
So without a doubt, we want to bring justice to every victim.
When will you bring that justice?
Can I please finish?
Excuse me.
Can I finish?
It's been decades. When will
Can
you
I
bring,
finish?
When will you bring the justice?
So as I was saying,
When will you prosecute?
Oh,
And who will you prosecute?
can I
Please allow the
speak?
witness to answer.
You told me in our
So I'll tell
conversation you
so
blamed the victims.
Every victim
Let the
of
record
Mr.
reflect.
Epstein.
He told me
of-
that the victims didn't give good names.
let me be crystal clear that this Department of Justice will always protect victims and will always prosecute anybody we can. Okay, full stop, no ifs, ands, or buts, okay? What you are showing in a game of showmanship are redactions because of victims, because that prosecution memorandum
Perpetrators.
talks about, excuse me?
Perpetrators, too.
How do you know that? Go ahead.
Talk to the
Exactly.
victims.
So
Talk to the victims.
they're victims' names, which we are required to redact, required by law to redact, which we did. Okay, so I take
Mr.
umbrage
Chairman, I
to the
realize
idea.
I'm over time. I thank you for that indulgence. I want to ask for unanimous consent to enter records onto the record. May I do that now?
Without objection.
Thank you. The
Time of
first,
the gentlelady has expired. Mr. Alford,
I would like to enter these records. May I please list what they are, sir?
you've had your chance. Mr. Alford.
You're denying me the chance to list what these records are?
Mr. Alford.
Thank you, Chair.
That was ridiculous. Fortunately, they did a second round of 2 minutes, and she was able to read it during the second round, so don't worry. During the second round, the co-chair, Meng, asked him once more, can you put it in writing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, I wanted to ask a few questions about the anti-weaponization fund. We know that the department has agreed to pause this effort until at least June 12th. I wanted to ask what your plans were for the fund after June 12th.
So thank you. So look, we're not moving forward with the fund. You're right that there's a date that in the case in the Eastern District of Virginia in June, but we are not moving forward with the fund, period. The reasons for the fund is something that President Trump talked about for a long time, which is the fact that there were a lot of people in this country who had their government weaponized against them. The reasons for the fund, I think, it remain as important as they were before, but we are not moving forward with the fund.
Not moving forward ever?
Correct.
Oh, there's no more fund then?
Well, to the extent there was a fund, and remember, the fund wasn't set up yet. There were no commissioners named. There was no claimants brought anything in front of, there was no claims made yet. So yes, we're not moving forward with the fund.
You and Associate Attorney General Woodward signed earlier documents regarding the settlement and this fund. Would both of you now sign and release documents reversing the DOJ's position on the fund?
We're not moving forward with the fund. I'm not sure what that means to sign documents reversing. There's nothing to reverse. We're not moving forward with the fund.
We know about the court case, the decision, when we've heard press reports, obviously. But is there any way that you could put this in writing? I don't know if there are other ways that you could use another vehicle to move forward with a similar fund or similar intention. And we just want to reassure the American public. We've heard from both Republicans and Democrats, constituents and Americans across the country about this fund. And I think they would love to be reassured that this fund will not progress.
I'm telling you it's not. I guess I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be flippant with you. I'm just saying I'm telling you it's not. There's we put out a statement yesterday. There's been an injunction, a temporary injunction filed in EDVA. There's litigation in DC. There's litigation in the Southern District of Florida. But notwithstanding what we do in those litigations and defending our rights and making sure our rights are protected, we're not moving forward with the fund.
Okay. Yeah, the statement I thought was just about until June 12th. So if it won't progress after June 12th, that's great to hear. And we hope to see this in writing. Yeah.
I mean, I think there'll be a transcript of what I say here, so that will be in writing.
Okay, well, we will work with you and hold you to it. Thank you very much. I wanted to quickly ask, with my remaining time, about hate crimes. We are concerned about the president's budget request eliminating three largest sources of federal support to local law enforcement for hate crimes responses and prevention. Legislation passed on a bipartisan basis, Jabara Hire, No Hate, Shepherd Bird, Hate Crimes Prevention, and community-based approaches to prevent and address hate crimes grant programs. Why are we proposing to eliminate the very programs that are helping our law enforcement and targeted communities?
Well, look, there's a lot of money that we have asked for to combat violent crime, to combat this type of crime. A lot of overlap includes hate crime. I'm happy to have my team work with you to make sure that we're getting money where it needs to be. That's an important issue to President Trump, and it's an important issue to the Department of Justice as well.
Can you describe or name the areas of overlap?
Well, there's billions of dollars. I think we asked for $12 billion to combat violent crime and grants and things like that. A lot of those grants will go to programs that at least part of it includes combating hate crime. And there's other individualized grants, some of which are earmarked along the way that we've funded for a long time, and that we will continue to work with you on making sure that we're addressing that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're working together as we have seen and worked together here in Congress, bipartisan, bicameral ways, that combating hate crimes isn't just about prosecution, but also about prevention and working with community organizations as well. So I don't have time left, but I would love to continue to work together on this issue.
I agree with that.
I yield back. Thank you.
I agree with that.
Judge Carter.
He's not going to put in writing. So this is why the Democrats are doing legislation, and this is why people are still irate today, because no one can trust them, because they're the most untrustworthy version of the Department of Justice, like in history. They've done so much obfuscation, so much like. Anyway, so yeah, then Rosa DeLauro, she's still like flabbergasted from the first exchange. During her 2 minutes, she just read him the list of all of the. Just how this taxation is essentially a blanket immunity, and he would not even accept that.
On my colleague Congresswoman Meng's questions, I have here. This is the order on the settlement, the $1.8 billion, and then this is the addendum to the order, which is about tax immunity, and this is a copy of the settlement agreement, and the Associate Attorney General signed this. These two documents were signed by yourself. Now, this is all in writing. This is all. Can you tell us here today that you are going to disavow this, that you're going to rescind what you said to Ms. Meng in writing with these efforts? These three documents are in writing. Is that a yes or a no?
So I can't answer that yes or no. Do you want an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so not yes or no. You gave me three documents. The only document I said we're not moving forward on today is the first document identified, which is the anti-weaponization fund. There's still a settlement agreement, and there's still the second document I signed is not an addendum. It's a separate Attorney General order.
Okay. Okay. So, but you're not going to rescind the addendum, the second order?
No,
the only thing you're talking about here, so the blanket immunity is not something that you're going to move back on?
It's not blanket immunity. That's not true.
It is.
No, it's not.
Read it.
Okay. United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of actions, appeals, requests for any reliefs. I mean, this is an order from you, but you're not prepared. You are prepared to say that the president and his family will be barred, are immune from. That's a yes.
No, it was not a yes. I had not answered the question. I can't answer if you want me to.
What are you doing with this?
Okay, so there was a settlement, which is one of the documents you showed. Okay.
Right.
Part of the settlement included the second order that you just held up.
Right.
And that is still, nothing has changed with that. What I said today, what I've said a couple times today, as what we talked about yesterday, is we're not moving forward with the anti-weaponization fund.
Okay, but you are moving forward with this second order.
It's not moving forward. There's a settlement. There's a settlement that the IRS entered into with President Trump and others, his family and his companies. As part of that settlement, as is customary in IRS settlements,
You're an attorney.
there's the separate AG order.
Friends, listen to what is being said here today here. This is really pretty extraordinary, that we are going to forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting the president, his sons, and the Trump organization's current tax filings. Simply put, you just gave the president and his family a tax immunity to the tune of about $100 million.
Not true.
Well, yes, you have, my
No,
friend.
it's not true.
You know, look, and I just want to say this. The Save America paid you nearly $10 million between March of 2024 and December of 2024 to serve as the President Trump's personal defense attorney. My God, don't you not find there's any conflict of interest in what you are doing here as the acting Attorney General of the United States?
I didn't. What are you saying is a conflict? I don't understand what you're saying.
Listen.
The fact that I used to have a job and I have a current job?
You know, I've got less time left, but I am going to reclaim my time because I think you have clearly answered where you're going on what you're doing on this. Is that you've taken one piece and you said, okay, we have had a ton of backlash on this on this $1.8 billion slush fund. However, so we'll not move on that, but as part of the settlement, which you've said, which is this immunity for the president and his family and his business, etc., that stands. Thank you for
It's not immunity, ma'am. It's
thank you.
It's a promise.
Thank you. It's immunity.
It's not immunity. It's not immunity. Okay, so it's not immunity. What it says is like any time the IRS settles with an individual taxpayer or another company, as part of the settlement, it's standard. It's typical to get rid of past ongoing audits. It's not a forward-looking document. It's nothing that gives any sort of immunity in the future to the president or his family or his organizations. And so by you saying that, it's not true.
By you saying what you've said, it is not true. So thank you, and I yield back.
Like, in the previous exchange, you saw she rattled off the list of his exchanges. So they're trying to get him on the corruption. He's not going to admit the corruption, but you know that it is corrupt. And then on Glenn Ivy's second round, he also went in and was like, you know, you should be investigating all these obvious corruptions that's involved in the president, but they're obvious. Can you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask you, it's a follow-up actually to a letter that I think 57 of my colleagues and I sent. This is about the shootings of Alex Preddy and Ms. Good in Minneapolis. The issue there is the Attorney General for the state, and I think some local prosecutors have said they haven't been able to get access to the evidence related to those shootings so they can make their own independent judgments about whether they should move forward with cases or not. The letter we sent, I don't think has been answered, but are you going to be committing to sharing that information immediately to these state and local prosecutors? Why not?
That's not what we do in criminal investigations.
I disagree.
Well, I'm right. You're wrong.
Well, let me say this. Your predecessor, Rod Rosenstein, and I, when he was U.S. Attorney in Maryland, I was the state prosecutor. Yeah. We shared evidence in these kinds of cases all the time, and then we made a determination about which would go forward. But the refusal to share evidence is
no, that's not what I said. I didn't say I refuse to share evidence, sir. You said, do I?
I mean, immediately.
Right. That's what I said no to.
We shared the evidence immediately.
No, you didn't.
And then yes, we did.
That's not. Look, it's
on to the next thing. You mentioned that it's important to make sure that bad guys don't just get arrested, but they pay back their victims. And that struck me as ironic, given the number of pardons that this president has issued. With respect to, I'll come back to you later. Devin Archer, Sioux Nation, $60 million, $43 million in restitution was wiped away by the pardon. Carlos Watson, 36.7 million was wiped away by the restitution. The Chrisleys, 21 million was wiped away by the restitution. Mr. Schwartz, I don't remember what that number was in his particular case, but over and over again, victims have been of fraud. So they personally lost the money. It was taken out of their pockets. Issue a pardon, they don't get paid, they don't get made whole. Will you commit to trying to find a way to make those people whole who've been denied this access to the information?
As I said to you earlier, sir, the Constitution of our United States gives the president the power to pardon. That is not a decision for me to make or you to make. It's a decision for the president of the United States to make.
Could I have just one more question, Mr. Chairman?
Without objection.
With respect to civil liability for these people, which they're not pardoned for, would you, and the Department of Justice can pursue civil remedies in cases that involve
Depends
fraud?
on the case, right. It depends on the case.
Well, if they've been convicted for criminal liability already, certainly they can be convicted or
I mean, it
pursue
depends on
civil.
what the crime they were convicted of.
Well, I just read them off to you. They were fraud convictions.
You didn't read off the crimes. No, I mean, it just depends. I appreciate what you're saying, and you're right that a pardon doesn't cover civil liability.
Will you pursue civil liability in these cases
I'm not
where
going
these
to commit
people
to
have been
pursuing
loved?
civil liability right here, no.
Time of this gentleman has expired. Mr. Strong.
No commitment to investigate them. Representative Dean, she presented evidence that she found out by going to the Epstein files, where his Department of Justice is located, taking notes and redacting an email where Donald Trump himself, in an exchange, admitted that that he was on the Epstein plane, because he denied he'd never been on an Epstein plane. So he admitted it in a previous sworn statement. Now, the problem with that is that they said, Todd Blanche later on said that, anyway, watch it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Ms. Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the second round. I did want to explain what I held up here.
Okay.
For the viewing public, what you do as a member of Congress is you go in, you release your phone, you release anything that would have electronics, and you go in and you attempt to capture some redacted material. So I took a look at this email from Jack Goldberger, Wednesday, October 14th, 2009. The subject is Trump. It is to Jeffrey Epstein. And the language here that is not redacted reads, spoke to Alan Garten, Trump's attorney. Garten arranged a 20-minute phone conference with Trump and Brad in lieu of a deposition. Following was discussed. The blacked out box is what was discussed, a regurgitation of that. I'll read to you what I was able to see underneath. It's, as I say, it's shorthanded, it's clipped as a regurgitation of what took place. J.E. never expelled from Mar-a-Lago. No, he was not a member, may have been a guest, never asked to leave. Mark Epstein said Trump on J.E. plane. Is that true? Answer, I've been on a lot of planes, may have been on his plane, no young girls on plane. What do you know about allegations against J.E.? Only what I read in the paper. Trump ever at J.E. house? I may have been there with my wife. Any young girls there? No, may have been some children of guests, but that's it. Trump specifically asked Garten to advise us of the interview. Brad had also talked to manager of Mar-a-Lago, Bert Lemke. Lemke confirmed J.E. never asked to leave Mar-a-Lago. I say that to say what a silly exercise that members of Congress have to go through to find out what actual conversations were taking place with the president in lieu of a deposition. This has nothing to do with redacting victims' names. My only point, I don't have a question for you. My only point is you are gravely conflicted. It is so obvious you are gravely conflicted. These survivors deserve prosecutions. They deserved them years ago, and now it's in your lap, as Pam Bondi told us. They need an independent prosecutor. I hope you will do that.
So if I may briefly respond. The law, the Epstein Transparency Act requires us to redact victims. We also have other laws that apply that require us to apply other redactions. That's not my law, that's your law. And what was just read, the reason why that was redacted is because that's a privileged communication between counsel. So the fact that it was read is fine, but that wasn't redacted because there were victims' names. That was redacted for another purpose, which we're legally obligated to do.
I advise you to take a look at the Epstein transparency
That
law.
concludes today.
He said he redacted it for attorney-client privilege reasons, which could be a thing, and she just read it. So I don't know how that goes out, but it's them protecting him, them protecting the Epstein class, the perpetrators. I get so frustrated when he says that we would definitely prosecute if we know anybody. It's kind of like, hello, there are Epstein sleuths every single day that are uncovering names. You know people. There's lots of people, they're known people. Their folks are covering their names. Why don't you investigate one of these many people? I've seen people in Epstein's little black book that's out there on the internet. I've been able to connect existing doctors that help and assisted Epstein with some of his victims, like provide childcare for them, his victims and his co-conspirators. They are right now practicing after they assisted Epstein with his child trafficking ring. And there's no evidence that this administration is going after that person. And I'm just saying this, I've seen plenty. So anyway, that is that. And then, so, it wrapped up there for the most part. It was interesting. We'll see what happens next. Stay tuned. I'm going to be posting a series of these oversight hearings. There's one I'm posting today on Marco Rubio yesterday and today because there's a new session. And then also Pete Hegseth from a while ago that I had in my pocket I've been trying to drop. So look for that. Change the link, each one teach one. Share this video so more people know. Oh, and you want the receipts for this video? Actually, there's no really receipts for this video. It's just the actual link to the actual hearing, which you can find yourself. But I might drop it in the receipts folder. For those of you who are members of my paid Substack, Patreon, and YouTube community, you can go check it out there.